For us to make really big advances now, sure, we can study stream flow, but unless we know more of the biological interactions with the stream flow, we don't have a sense of how the whole system is working. And until you really find that integration, you don't really understand the system. You only understand part of one component.
Mm-hmm.
A trivial example, for example, would be stream flow and how stream flow moves downstream. Sure, it's got slopes and it's got a certain meander to it, and the banks erode or the banks build up, whatever. Well, that's 20 years ago. Now we realize, well, there's plants along the banks. The roots help stabilize the banks.
Mm-hmm.
Trees fall into the rivers, causing eddies and things like that. So what do we know before, considering the real complexity of the system, and can we really address a lot of these issues by ignoring the riparian or the the plants on the sides of the river? So it's that kind of thing.
So when you think about it in terms of atmospheric science, and you think about a model that you're creating, that model starts to integrate elements from humans and the biology and all that.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's and what the focus then is on is what is the most sensitive part of the system that we don't understand yet. So what I mean is, all right, we know how glaciers flow, fine. Then maybe we don't understand about the weather. Okay, well we figure out the weather. Well, gee, maybe what it is now, if we figured that out, so maybe it's the amount of dust that gets on the glacier that causes it to melt faster. So maybe we need to know more about that. That might be weather. That just might be, well, where's all the dust coming from? So then what you do is you start out understanding, say, 50% of the problem, and then you understand 75%, and then you understand 80%, and then at some point there's a tipping point between what it costs to get to the next level and how important is that.
Right.
So depending on what the problem is at hand and what the challenge is, you may be a long way away from that, or you may be quite close to it. In terms of climate change, we're still pretty far away from it. To understand all the integrated processes to really know what the effect of climate will be on us in the next 20 to 50 years.
Well, this is the thing, because then, people who are non-scientists and scientists alike, it seems, from what I'm understanding from the IPCC and stuff, need to take action. And so how do people understand, that's what's been a real issue, like with Michael Crichton and, all this debate is, the science isn't telling us everything, but at the same time, we need to take some kind of action about it. So how does that, in your opinion, get...
And this is in a sense, the difference between the legal arena and the scientific arena. The legal arena, as I understand it, is based on certainty. What do you know and when did you know it? Mm-hmm. And the scientific arena is what we don't know. Okay, here's my model, here's what I can do, but we're really uncertain about X, Y, and Z, but we don't think they're really important for the following reasons. So we're always emphasizing our uncertainty. And then these two worlds collide, and climate change is a good point. Where when you read in the newspaper or a magazine about scientists knowing this or that, they always say, yeah, but what we really need to know. And then you get this idea that, gee, maybe they don't know as much as they should know. They might know a lot, but they need to know more. Right. But in the scientific community, if you understand the culture, we know tons. Mm-hmm. Everybody's really worried about it. Mm. The issue is no longer whether there's climate change, and the issue has already even passed by whether humans are causing it. Everybody's pretty convinced that they're causing it. Now it's action. Mm-hmm. Of how do we minimize future climate change. Mitigation, and that's kind of where the action really is. Although there's still a lot of details and things to be understood about the climate system to better anticipate what kind of action needs to be taken. Mm-hmm. There's some very basic ones that are obvious, I think, to everybody, but then there's some more nuances in it. That's where the scientific research really comes in.
And is that something that the research of LTER is playing a role in? looking at? Because it's looking at how ecosystems respond to changes?
Oh, very much so. Yeah, because each site is looking, it's part of its mandate is looking at its response to climate, and we know a lot about what those responses are across a broad range of environments. Everything from the polar, terrestrial, or marine, all the way to the deserts, temperate deserts, to temperate forests of the east coast or the west coast. So we know a lot about this. So we're kind of some of the pinning points of understanding how ecosystems respond to climate change.
This is something I asked Peter, and I don't know if you have a thought about it. From the perspective of a scientist, do you feel that there is a kind of responsibility that you have to, or a need that you have to interface with the general public and help them to understand?
This changed completely, because
Okay.
when I started out in science, it was keep your head low, stay out of newspapers. You know, if newspapers come to you, fine. You don't go seeking publicity. That's a bad thing. Nobody wants, you know, a big blabbermouth. Now, with climate change, this whole edict, in a sense, has changed, such that, and NSF really has been, and NASA for that matter, have been a big proponent of getting science to the people, because in a sense, science is kind of separated from public understanding, because science has gotten so complex, and I think partly because of our culture. Now, the funding agencies want to bring that back into the public arena to at least make our results known and appreciated by the public. But now you put this climate change issue in front of everybody, and now it's gone from this is something I should do to this is my duty to be involved and to get the word out. As far as my research is concerned, here's what I'm seeing in the climate change debate, and that's a lot actually what I do. You know, there's I don't think I turn down a single request when it comes to talking about glaciers and climate change. I'm out there.
Lucky for me, thank you. Is there a danger of that watering down the science?
No, I don't think it has any danger of watering down the science. I think it has a danger of
Misunderstanding.
well, that could be true, but I was thinking more of anesthetizing the public. That everybody's saying that it's climate warming. Okay, fine, climate's warming. What else is new?
Oh yeah.
I gotta catch my
news
bus.
cycle.
Yeah, right. So people get bored with that message,
Mm.
and that's why I'm thinking that we have to begin to change the message
Mm-hmm.
and start talking about
The effects.
what we need to do about, you know, how do we minimize our effects. Yeah.
Great. Well, this has been really great. I'm just wondering, before we stop rolling, is there something that you feel that you wanted to say that I didn't cover, or?
No, I think you got it
All
all.
right. That was fantastic. Thank you.